Higher Learning is a show about adults learning interesting facts while under the influence of marijuana. This show is filmed in Vermont where it is legal to smoke. The staff involved in the show want to be clear that we do not support its use by those too young or where it is illegal to partake in such behavior. While this show doesn't show the usage of drugs or use coarse language, it is not intended for children. Parental discretion is advised. Now, let's get to the burning and learning. Welcome to Higher Learning, a class in disjointed education. The show where my son,
me,
comes in with a buzz going from an edible.
And he is.
And I teach him 25 facts about a random topic. And then the following week, he comes in sober, and I quiz him on those same facts to see how much he remembers. Or as the way we like to put it, will he puff, puff, pass?
Or puff, puff, fail.
Correct. This week's topic is 80s cartoons. These are what?
Nothing. For a second, I didn't know if that was the shot or my eyes being wicked blurry. Thank you.
The Care Bears were originally created by artist Elena Kucharik to be used on greeting cards. Later, they were made into toys and brought to TV. So they started as greeting cards.
Say the name again?
The Care Bears?
Read that one more time.
The Care Bears were originally created by artist Elena Kucharik to be used on greeting cards. Later, they were made into toys and brought to TV.
Okay. I only started hearing you at Elena Kucharik or whatever. And
Anyway, well, you need to pay attention
I was
sooner.
trying.
G.I. Joe premiered in 1983 with a 5-episode story called The Mass Device. The fact that it was shown in 5 parts makes it the first animated miniseries in television history.
Wow.
Cool, right? The cartoon version of Dennis the Menace had Phil Hartman of Saturday Night Live and News Radio fame, providing the voice of both Mr. Wilson and Dennis's father, Henry Mitchell. The new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, which was in 81, was basically not great, but it was the show to provide us with an important little nugget. That is where we learned that Shaggy's real name is Norval Rogers.
Yeah, I've heard.
Hulk Hogan and other WWF wrestlers, for those who weren't alive in the 80s, WWE used to be WWF, the World Wrestling Federation.
I'll have a shirt soon.
Yes.
That proves that's true.
Had a cartoon called Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. Hulk was voiced by Brad Garrett, a.k.a. Ray Romano's brother on Everybody Loves Raymond. Also, he does those commercials now for that the Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
He's the Jimmy John's guy, yeah, but he was the voice of Hulk Hogan on the animated show.
That's uncomfortable.
Well, all of the actors who lent their voices to the storybook tapes for Teddy Ruxpin dolls are the exact same ones who voiced those same characters on the show, The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin.
That's really cool.
It made it easier for kids to listen to the tapes and watch the show and be able to
and not get confused and be like, who's this supposed to be?
Yeah, it was one universe, the actual toys and the cartoon.
So the cartoon takes place in the real world?
No. The toys tell you about the cartoon world. Anyway, the theme song for Star Wars Droids was called Trouble Again and was written by Stuart Copeland, the drummer for and one of the founders of The Police.
Wow.
That's better than most of the show. There was a mini movie that they had made that I loved when I was a kid.
Never watched it. Connected to Droids?
It was starring R2-D2 and C-3PO. They had an animated movie.
Oh, when you said droids, I was picturing the droids from episode 2.
No, this was in the 80s, so episode 2 didn't exist. Anyway.
You lucky 80s kids.
The Galaxy High cartoon series was created by Chris Columbus, the same man who directed Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, and the first 2 Harry Potter movies.
I knew that name as soon as you said it.
Rainbow Bright's real name is Wisp, and she's an orphan, per the show.
Of course.
In the 80s, they redid a classic 60s cartoon called Beanie and Cecil. It lasted 1 month in the reboot form. Only 5 episodes were shown, making it the shortest running cartoon series of the 80s.
Ouch.
Yep. 80s kids did not care about that 60s stuff. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the toy line, came out before the series. It was the first cartoon series based on a toy line after the FCC revised its regulations against cartoons being commercials for toys.
He-Man.
Yep. It was the first one after they said, fine, you could basically be a commercial for a half hour.
I mean, you could tell watching that show.
I mean, every week it's like, here's a new character. You don't have to rush out and buy it or nothing. It wasn't that bad, but I loved the show, actually. There were 65 episodes of the series Gem. And in them, there were 187 music videos. That averages more than 2 music videos per episode. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
And some of them have adult lyrics about making love. Yeah, but that's a bonus fact. That's not something you have to remember next week. The character of Ma Beagle on DuckTales was based on a real person. She was modeled after Ma Barker of the Barker Carpus Gang.
Okay.
She was the mother of the Beagle Boys on DuckTales. When the She-Ra series was in development, She-Ra and He-Man were originally supposed to be love interests until someone decided they should be twin siblings that were separated at birth instead. I like it better this way.
Okay. Well, then I just learned 2 things, because I thought they were cousins.
No. They're twins. Also, this is a bonus fact, so you don't have to necessarily remember this, but it's interesting. She-Ra's original name was going to be She-Ro, like hero, but a she-hero. Because originally He-Man was going to be Hero, and they changed it to He-Man, so then they're like, well, we can still use that and just have it be the girl, She-Ro. And then someone was like, how about She-Ra, so it's not so on the nose. Anyway, the theme song for Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers was written by Mark Mueller, who also wrote the theme for DuckTales and Jennifer Page's 1998 hit song, Crush.
Huh.
Very different. But by the way, DuckTales and Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers both have some like classic theme songs. How many times have we jammed out in the car to DuckTales?
And both, actually.
Oh, yeah, true. All of the actors from the original Gilligan's Island TV show played the same characters on Gilligan's Planet, an 80s cartoon where they got stranded on a planet, except Tina Louise, who played Ginger. Her voice was done by Dawn Wells, who played Ginger and Marianne. The original Marianne played both on the cartoon, basically, is what you have to remember there. The Thundercats travel to a planet from Thundera, and that planet is Earth in the future. They just kind of jacked that from Planet of the Apes, except their planet isn't Earth. They travel to
Thundera.
Yeah.
So they like interact with humans?
I'm not gonna spoil it for you. Like most of the show takes place on Thundera, I believe. But anyway, the Japanese version of the Transformers was not called Transformers. It was called, and this is one of those classic Japanese titles, Fight Super Robot Lifeform Transformers. Howie Mandel was the voice actor of Animal, Benson, and Skeeter for the first 2 seasons of Muppet Babies. When Mandel left, all 3 of those voices were replaced by Full House star Dave Coulier.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right.
they could still hire one person to replace one
That's-
person. Yeah.
You know, cost effective.
Well, not at the time because Full House was like the #1 show, so I bet it cost him more than Howie Mandel did.
Ouch.
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he was so happy to do cartoons because he loves doing voices. Arsenio Hall was the voice of Winston on the first 3 seasons of The Real Ghostbusters. When he left, he was replaced by Buster Jones, who I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, I
who
never
that
watched
is.
that one.
But Arsenio Hall was the first one,
That's cool.
who sounds nothing like Winston, because we've been watching Oz, which stars him, and he's got a specific voice.
Yeah.
While everyone remembers the Smurfs as a fun, lovable, friendly family cartoon, there were instances where that wasn't so. Example, in the Smurfs Christmas special, they kill a villain
Okay.
by singing him to death, but he still dies.
I mean,
The National Coalition of Television Violence in the U.S. demanded a warning be shown before each episode of Dungeons and Dragons, stating that the show had been linked to real-life violence, including death.
excuse me?
That was their claim.
I don't think so.
Right, well, Mask, M-A-S-K, was developed by toy manufacturer Kenner in 1985. Along with the animated television series, it was a direct competitor to and combination of G.I. Joe and Transformers. That's why it was a paramilitary organization with transforming vehicles. They just were like, how do we compete with these two? We don't. We just do both.
Yeah, and now Transformers is doing both. So
But that's Hasbro, not Kenner.
Yeah.
Kenner was the one that
leave it
had
to
all
Kenner,
this-
though.
They had the Star Wars toys back in the day.
Those guys?
Anyway, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' friend April O'Neil was originally drawn as a black woman in the comics.
Yeah.
Her race was changed to Caucasian for the cartoon and stayed that way until the current Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie coming out by Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
And people are up in arms. You're making her black. It's like, read the original source material. The fact that that one I'm going to have to side with changing it because they were changing it back to the original intent.
Yeah.
If you're going to go
It
comic
just feels
accurate,
weird to me.
she
because,
also wasn't a reporter.
like, are they
By the
drinking
way.
beer and killing their bad guys?
Probably not.
All right.
It's still a kid's version.
All right. So, go back to the comics fully then. That's what I vote for.
That's a separate movie that
Well,
they're
get it made
supposedly
already.
doing.
Okay? Get it
And
made.
The final fact, Danger Mouse was based on a character. Can you guess what character? Not. And the answer is no, because I wanted you to say James Bond. It's not.
Oh, I was not going to say James Bond.
Really? The English cartoon about a spy and you didn't assume it was inspired by James Bond?
I
Most
never
people think
think
so.
about James Bond.
Well, okay. He says that, but the used up boxes of Kleenex say different.
No, that's
It
his
was-
character in Mars Attacks.
Danger Mouse wasn't based on James Bond. It was based on a 60s British spy show called Danger Man, which lasted 4 seasons. Danger Mouse lasted 10. To outlast the thing it was mocking,
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he dies at the end of his show, reincarnates into a mouse.
no, it was definitely a parody.
Oh, okay.
The spin-off of
Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse, the Count Duckula was really good too. But anyway, that's enough for this week. That's 25 facts.
I've been your high, Jason.
That's education. That's basically what I was inspired
Yeah,
by.
basically.
Shout out to Kevin Smith for one of his old podcasts. But no,
Nothing but net, right?
something like that. But that's been higher learning for this week.
Yes.
And next week we'll tune in to see if Jason can puff pass.
Or puff puff fail.
Bet it's that one.
What is high?